Welcome to NSOMASA NMMS podcast, where we bring you exciting conversations with the thought leaders from various fields. I am K.S. Madhavrao, Professor of Statistics in the Department of Statistics, NSOMASA. Let us welcome our guests, Mr. Sandeep Varma, who is the co-founder of Equity Data Science, and Mr. Benjamin Lieblich, who is the Vice President of Product and Quantitative Engineering at Equity Data Science, who are being interviewed by Jui Pingle and Sachi Bogate.
Hello and a warm welcome to this special podcast, which is a part of the first ever international conference, as we know, ICS 2023, organized by the Statistics Department of NSOMASA, NMIMS University. Today, we will dive into the world of data science and finance with two of the proficient players in the industry and learn how to navigate our own career paths. My name is Sachi Gokte.
And I'm Zui Pingle from M.Sc Statistics and Data Science.
And we are the hosts for this podcast episode. We have with us today Mr. Sandeep Varma and Mr. Benjamin Lieblich.
Mr. Sandeep Varma is a highly experienced financial professional and the co-founder of Equity Data Science, a quantitative investment firm that he helped establish in 2017. He currently serves as the company's chairperson and CEO, overseeing the development of EDS, proprietary quantitative platform for idea generation and risk management. Sandeep's professional experience is rooted in computer science, fundamental analysis, and data science, which he has helped throughout his career in finance. Prior to co-founding EDS, Mr. Sandeep worked as a quantitative analyst at Bridger Capital and Herring Creek Capital, where he developed a proprietary quantitative platform for idea generation and risk management. He has also worked as a quantitative and fundamental analyst at Herring Creek Capital. Mr. Sandeep holds a bachelor's degree from the University of Mumbai and a Master of Engineering and Computer Science from Cornell University. He is also a chartered financial analyst, demonstrating his experience, expertise, and dedication to the finance industry. Under Mr. Sandeep's leadership, EDS has experienced significant growth and success and has established itself as a leader in the quantitative investment space.
And talking about Benjamin, sir, he joined EDS early on as the chief data scientist. He started his career in quantitative analyst at Credit Suisse. He went on to lead the analytics group at Shapeways 3D Printing, a prominent tech startup, after which he joined Ravenure Investment Fund as their quantitative analyst. He then went to Cross River, a venture-backed technology-focused bank, to develop their retail banking product and lead the bank's quantitative credit modeling effort. Benjamin sir graduated from his class from Rutgers with concentrations in math and physics. He also has a financial engineering master's degree from UC Berkeley and a product management MBA from Cornell University. Thank you both for joining us.
Without wasting any more time, let us begin with our podcast. So, Mr. Varma, you have 2 degrees in computer science, but you are now working as a financial analyst. Were you always interested in the field of finance? If not, then how did this transition happen?
Yeah, that's a good question. So, where I ended up doing my master's, which is in Cornell University, that's on the East Coast, and that's in New York State. And when you complete your engineering programs, especially around the time when I was finishing up my engineering degree, there were a number of investment banks that were coming to hire engineers because increasingly a lot of finance requires a lot of data to be processed. And they were hiring engineers like me, essentially, to help with programming some of these systems. So as I started working at these banks, I understood what the business professionals needed, what they were doing, and I started really getting interested in how they invest in stocks, for example. So I just pursued my CFA charter, got more into it. I actually then met Ben at a role where I was a quantitative analyst in a front office group, so just liaising with investment professionals, portfolio managers, And that really just piqued my interest, and I decided to pursue that as a career.
So, Mr. Benjamin, in your opinion, what are some of the most promising areas of research and development in the field of equity data analytics, and how do you see these areas evolving in the coming years?
Well, I can speak to some of the things that we're doing at Equity Data Science. Something that makes our platform unique is that we encompass all components of the investment lifecycle. So, like idea generation, portfolio construction, risk management, research management as well, where we take all the notes from all the research that our clients are doing. As well as performance attribution, assessing how well their performance is and what's driving their returns. Now, we're trying to figure out smart ways of taking all of that data, because we have it all available and it's not siloed, and incorporating it all into one seamless experience that allows our investment clients to be able to come to novel ideas and analyses by accessing all the data at once, as opposed to just looking at each area on its own. One way we're doing that is through some of these new large language models that are coming out. We're kind of trying to incorporate data from each of those different areas into one model that can then be accessed via some more kind of dialogue-like interface for our clients.
Sandeep sir, can you tell us about the inspiration behind founding Equity Data Science and what led you to start the company? Can you take us through the journey of founding the company? And where do you see the company in next 10 years? Any milestones you are working on?
All right, so I guess there are multiple parts to this question. So the first part is, how did I get started on the journey? Like, what led to the creation of the company? So as I mentioned, I was pursuing my CFA charter. I completed the charter. I was working on the sell side. So that's like an investment bank, but you're not really investing in stocks. So I was really interested in exploring the buy side, which is professionals or mutual funds, as they call it, who invest in stocks or pick stocks for a living. So I got an opportunity to work for a guy called Steve Galbraith. And Steve Galbraith was the ex-chief investment officer at Morgan Stanley. He was the number 2 guy. He was a partner at Maverick Capital, which was a $20 billion, which still is a $20 billion hedge fund based in New York. And he was spinning off and starting his own firm. I was one of the initial guys that he hired. And he basically gave me a framework. He gave me a document, actually. And that document outlined his process for fundamental investing, but leveraging data and technology. So when I started working at his firm, instead of using Excel, I started leveraging the cloud, given my technology background. And that's how it got started. So, I implemented, along with a few other team members, I implemented some workflows for idea generation, for risk management. And then as time progressed, I saw all the other analysts at the firm were using the platform. Then I went and worked for another firm called Bridger Management, but they had a different investment philosophy. So I understood that I had to take the software that I'd created and essentially apply a more data engineering and a more software layer to make it customizable or configurable for different investment philosophies. And that's where, in 2017, I met with my partner, Greg, and then I obviously knew Ben as well. Through our days at Credit Suisse together, we decided that there was something commercial that we could offer or bring to the market. So we just ended up forming the company in 2017. So the second part of your question was about where do we see the company in 10 years? Yeah, just in terms of the milestones, obviously you have certain operating metric milestones just in terms of revenue. Probably in the next 5 years, we want to double or triple our revenue from here. But really that's going to come as a second order effect of just increasing the number of investment professionals on the platform. So, there are 1 million plus investment professionals on the platform, and they all want to use or leverage data and technology in the investment process. So our goal is to become the de facto standard, or the standard for these investment professionals to incorporate data science, and artificial intelligence in the investment process.
We've covered some of this part in the previous question, but just can you discuss how an equity data scientist leverages machine learning and artificial intelligence to provide insights to clients, and what are some benefits of this approach?
I'll give a couple of examples. Aside from what we already talked about, I'll kind of call machine learning just like broadly, or data science. One example is our clients are fundamental investors, meaning they understand deeply the companies that they're investing in. They know all about their business models, their moats, all the details about how their business thrives, and what drives their success. And they come up with targets for these companies and for the prices of the securities they trade in. So there's a company, let's say Apple's trading $100. I think Apple's going to go to $150 in 6 months, or I think Tesla's at 600 is going to go to 1,000, and they have some time period that they think this is going to happen by, and they'll have various scenarios. And then they construct their portfolios based on these ideas that they come up with. Now, what they are not, so they are good at understanding these securities or these companies, and then they are pretty good at predicting how well they're going to do. What they're not good at really is constructing a mathematically sound portfolio. They say, you hear a bunch of good securities, I don't really know how they relate to each other. I'm not really sure they don't have a really good handle on the risks that end up in a portfolio, but they know the individual companies. So one big thing we help them with, and which is actually something that a lot of NMIMS students have helped out with as they've worked at EDS and improved this product. In addition, we actually had a whole team of grad students at UC Berkeley who was working on a project for us in this area, where we'll take the portfolio that the hedge fund or asset manager has created, and then we'll basically create an optimizer to allow them to maintain the kind of the flavor of the portfolio with all the positions they like, approximately the positions that they've chosen, but make small tweaks to be able to significantly reduce the kind of mathematical predicted risk of the portfolio. So their expected return is still really high, but they now have a much tighter and less volatile portfolio, which results in just much higher kind of return to risk ratios. So that's kind of a really valuable component of data science, machine learning that we help them with. Another example is, so a lot of times a client will have a particular stock they're interested in, and they want to invest in that stock, but they also want to hedge that stock. So they're not necessarily sure what to hedge that stock with. So they'll work with us, let's say, to develop some kind of clustering algorithm to find stocks that trade in a very similar way to the stock that they're interested in. So when they put on a trade or they buy, let's say, the stock that they really like, then they're able to identify mathematically all these different names that trade similarly, and let's say create a basket of those stocks and short those stocks. So then they have a kind of nicely hedged mini portfolio that reduces the risk of that position, but keeps kind of the idiosyncratic component of the stock that they really like.
Okay, so what I understand from this is you find similar stocks and you also optimize the portfolio. Right? So it kind of combines the previous example.
Exactly. And there are all types of examples like that. And every client kind of is doing different types of interesting things and has different type of kind of mathematical and analytical requirements to help them and kind of achieve the the investment goals that they're looking for. To make lots of money.
Sandeep sir, what advice would you give to the aspiring candidates of the Chartered Financial Analyst program, particularly with regards to the importance of data science and analytics in the finance industry? And how do you think advancements in technology and data science are changing the landscape of finance and investment management?
All right. So again, the two parts of the question. The first part of the question was about the CFA charter. Yeah. I think the CFA charter is just a really good way for someone with a data science degree who's interested in finance, wants to understand finance and investing. So I think the CFA charter is the right path to take if you want to get into investing. Right? You don't have to be a data scientist. You can do the CFA charter and become a financial analyst as well. So really, once you do the CFA charter, you can become a financial analyst. So when you become a financial analyst or a fundamental financial analyst, you're going deep into a particular name. So if you're looking at, say, Meta as a company that you're interested in investing in, you're doing deep fundamental research, you're talking to company management, you're talking to industry experts and finding out about what the intrinsic value of that company is. A quantitative analyst can also benefit from the CFA charter because he'll understand what the financial analyst does, but then really with the domain expertise that you get with the CFA charter, you'll be able to apply your data science skills. So, a quantitative analyst at one of these fundamental firms would be helping a bunch of financial analysts find better ideas. So, you basically write a script to find ideas that you might find interesting. So if you're a value manager, you basically construct like a value screen. And then you're also going to be helping the financial analyst and the portfolio manager construct a portfolio that mitigates a lot of the, unforeseen risks, for example, right? So there are lots of ways in which both fundamental analysts can be born out of the CFA program, but, even quantitative analysts can actually use it to sort of get into the career of investment management, if that makes sense. Yeah. What was the second part? There was a second part of your question as well. Oh, yeah. It's about the CFA program or just incorporating data science.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I think I read something about the CFA charter recently incorporating Python courses. So, there's a growing field within the investment community. It's called Quantamental, which is like applying quantitative or data essentially to fundamental investing. So even the CFA charter, everyone basically, like with ChatGPT, for example, you're seeing the use of technology a lot more in the investment process.
So, Benjamin, sir, can you take us through some of the ethical considerations that a data scientist should keep in mind when they're working with sensitive data? And how does equity data scientist ensure to be ethical?
Sure. So there aren't too many ethical considerations around the use in hedge funds and asset managers because the results of the analyses aren't really put forth to the general public. And decisions are only being made off those analyses aside from the investment decisions of the specific firm. However, there is a big area within investment management called alternative data that's been growing really over the last 5 to 10 years. And it's about grabbing data from all different types of sources that maybe seem unrelated to investment management and using that to figure out what investments might be good. So one good example, along these lines is credit card data. So a lot of companies aggregate credit card data across the world, different countries, different regions, and then put it all together and then sell it. So these investment firms can analyze it and understand what types of purchasing trends are going on, who's buying what, which companies are having a lot of purchases there, how does that affect margins, how is growth in different regions, how are competitors affecting other competitors, and it kind of gives them a view into what's going on at kind of the ground level before the company reports this type of information. Now, specifically with credit card information, you can obviously have PII, so personally identifiable information. And so it's very important to make sure that those kind of scrubbed out so that, there's no issue of any identity issues. So someone finding out information about you that you don't want them to, or just your information being publicly available, is something that the aggregators really need to make sure doesn't happen. So that's an important consideration. And one other one is, I would say that we, as a firm, we need to make sure that the data that our clients and these types of vendors I'm talking about, when they give it to us, it does not get kind of leaked. So, of course, we go through training with all the new hires that we have, a lot of your colleagues who've come to work with us. And we also have very strict rules around how data is shared and how data is stored within the system. And we have a private cloud, and all of our repositories are highly protected. So all that stuff is very important to be followed as well.
Thank you so much for your valuable time and patience. With this, we come to the end of this podcast session. Thank you for tuning in. We also want to express our gratitude to the platform that ICS 2023 and NMIMS gave us.
Thank you guys very much.
Yeah, thanks for having us.
Many more of you.
Yeah. Hoping to be hired.
Okay, thanks so much.
Thank you.